What's up, everybody? We are back with a very special edition of the KOT podcast. It is a beautiful, cloudy, cold Saturday morning in our favorite state, the greatest state of Tennessee. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Billy Derrick. Billy, how are you, man? It's we're getting close to Christmas.
We are, man. It's crazy. Another football season's out of the way, and we got Christmas coming up. But bowl season, man, I love bowl season. I don't know about you, but I've always been a big bowl season guy. We got what, six today? I think we got some early next week, and then all throughout up until Christmas, and then of course New Year's. But man, I love bowl season almost just as much as the regular season. But with all these opt outs and portal entries and guys deciding to not play. It's put a damper on a lot of these games. But I do like to see players, like Bo Nix come back and say, "No, I'm playing in the bowl game." So I'm sure we'll get to all that. But yeah, man, Christmas is almost here, and that means college football is almost over.
Well, with the Christmas season comes a lot of traveling, so that's why we are not doing video today. We're both kind of on the road or getting ready to go on the road. It's kind of hectic, but hey, that's what we live for. That's what we live for. We're college football fans. We're used to chaos, and we know how to simplify it. But I love bowl season as well. It's my favorite time of the year. It's hard. It's getting hard. I know. I don't know, Billy, if you play Pick'em, like the bowl Pick'em on ESPN, the little bowl mania thing. But it's very hard to
Yeah.
pick games now with these transfers because I don't know who's going to be there in a couple weeks. Who's going to be there a week before the game, a day before the game. So it
Oh,
makes it a little
it's
bit challenging.
yeah, it's impossible. I mean, especially because if say a guy opts out, you know, say it was a couple weeks ago, and you're picking a game that's happening here in about a week. You could have forgotten it. I mean, and then you just it's so quick. Every day you've got new portal entries, and then every day you got kids landing at school. So it's a mess, and that's why I'm not going to be picking too many bowls. I'm sure we'll be doing that, but I don't know if I'll be putting any of my actual money on it.
Uh, yeah, this is my. I mean, it's bowl season, man. It's my favorite time of the year, so I'm gonna lose some money on some bowl games. I'm already looking at today's slate. I was looking at it last night or before I went to bed. I woke up this morning, grabbed my phone, and started looking at it today. It is what it is when you're in this deep in football season. You're in it till the end. So that's kind of the mindset we're going with. But it's a good time. It's a good time. The holidays are here. Um, Want to quickly say this real quick, Billy, before we get into anything. We haven't been here since uh what title game weekend, the week before title games. So
Yes, I think so.
I want to shout out to all the people affected in this great state by the tornadoes a couple weeks ago. Uh, Kind of wild that we have tornadoes in December, but that's Tennessee weather. So I just wanted to take a second to, you know, shout out to people recovering from all of that, and we hope you have a speedy recovery and a speedy build back process. Um, but yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because it's our state and we love our state so very much. But let's get right into it, Billy. Speaking of transfer portals, it's been kind of like you said, hectic. I feel like there's a bazillion people jumping the portal every single day,
Mhm.
and it's hard to keep up with. I know Vanderbilt. Um, there was a really crazy week a couple weeks ago where I saw all y'all on Twitter. Y'all were flipping out and then immediately turned into like, we're back, which I love it. I love that attitude of panic button. 5 seconds later, we're all the way back. So just kind of give us the insight a little bit on the fun and wacky week of Vanderbilt transfer portal news.
Yeah, I guess it was a couple weeks ago. They had, I guess, they had a day or maybe a string of 2 or 3 days where, they had London Humphreys, their best receiver, the best receiver in the portal. He entered the portal, of course. Or at least he. I guess we it had been made official to us that that was gonna be happening. Um, and so of course for fans that's brutal. Um, and then we find out he's headed to Georgia, or at least reported to be headed to Georgia. So kind of, you know, it kind of hurts even more, I think, for Vandy fans. And then, you had guys like Will Shepard and Jade McGowan and a couple of safeties, a linebacker, and then you had all three quarterbacks, of course, too. You had a couple of linemen into the portal, and so yeah, I guess early that week, I can't remember which week exactly it was, but yeah, it was. I mean, it was doomsday for a lot of fans. I never really get to that point because it's the portal season, man. Like it's longer than people think. Like I think a lot of fans think, you lose, I don't know, 10 guys in the first couple of weeks, you're screwed. And when in reality, you're clearing out space and almost creating a better sell to bring guys in saying, you do have those spots. Um, you've got openings. And so, at the end of the day, you never like to lose that many guys. It's probably a sign of somewhat of a bad culture. And I think they did. I think the culture on that team struggled a lot this year. So I think we knew they were going to have attrition. Um, but then, after a lot of that negative news, you had people down in the dumps, right? But all of a sudden, the message board murmurs about a huge NIL boost for Vanderbilt. So to put into context, last year at this time, Vanderbilt was, I would say, under $1 million when it comes to their NIL closet. I mean, they were. Clark has totally switched his view on the portal, and it's kind of crazy to kind of think about that whole switch. But now I'm hearing they're close to 8 figures, if not already there. So it's getting interesting right now for Vanderbilt. So that was kind of the big shift. The NIL collective for Vanderbilt has kind of come together and made Vanderbilt and their collective a power. I mean, to be real with you. So their donors stepped up, and I think that's big. That's big for Vanderbilt. That's big for any school to have that kind of commitment. Now the flip side is you're coming off a 2-10 season, right? So you're not Tennessee or LSU or whoever, coming off good seasons. That's where it's tough for them to sell right now. So, but no, you're exactly right on the, this program's dead to a couple of days later, we're back.
I was following so very closely on Twitter, and it was a fun time to check in and to be on that the great app that, well, it's not even Twitter anymore. I keep calling it that, but we'll for our sake we'll call it Twitter until whatever. But yeah, it was a good time. The 8 figure thing, that's crazy. That's insane, and that's awesome, especially if last year was below 1 million, and now they're looking at 8 figures. That's huge in this kind of new landscape of college football. Like you have to, it's portal or die at this point.
It is, yeah. I mean, and for Vanderbilt, they, like I said, as a staff, as a head coach, they made that switch. And they felt like they had to. You're coming off a 2-10 season. What do you do? Okay, you gotta hop into the game. I mean, wake up. And I think Clark did that. I think their staff did that. So it'll be interesting to see what does this mean. What does this mean? Immediate success next year? Are they going to be able to get big time players that they haven't been super active? They've gotten four portal guys. They got a safety from TCU. They got an offensive lineman from Mississippi State. They got a couple other guys. So, they've gotten some kids, but they need a lot more. I think you can probably see about 10 more kids coming in for Vanderbilt by the end of the window. But yeah, Chase, Tennessee's been in it since the beginning, and you're seeing that teams that have been in it from the beginning and understood what was going on and wasn't naive about it, they're doing just fine. Tennessee, I know they've got one guy, Holden Stays, who committed. I think it was yesterday. So yeah, they're going slow, but they have a plan. They've got a strategy, and you can be smart when you do have financial stability in that collective, and it's big. So no, you're right. You have to. It's either adapt or die, and you're even seeing Dabo Sweeney, start to hop into the portal more. You have to, and if you don't, because that's the equalizer in college football right now. Everybody is doing it, even D2, D3 schools. So you got to hop into it one way or the other. Not saying you got to, live on it every off season like Colorado did last year, but there's a way to quickly improve your team now with the portal.
The Colorado is, I mean, they're living off of it now. I mean, it's a good strategy. Look, you can't falter it. But I think what you're seeing now, especially in playoffs, you're gonna win with mostly guys you recruit, but you're gonna have to sprinkle in transfers in that mix. Like you could recruit as hard as you want to, but you also have to, add a couple depth pieces with transfers, add a couple starters. And you're seeing that a lot. You're seeing that in the Heisman race. I mean, look, all three of the four finalists are transfers, and the winner is a transfer. Last year's winner was a transfer.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's college football now, and I know a lot of people hate it and don't like it. I would like to see some regulations maybe to try to kind of clean it up a little bit. But I'm here for it. It's a fun new aspect of college football, and it gives us something to talk about when there's no games going on. I mean, we
Yeah.
could literally sit here and talk for 8 days straight about the transfer portal news. Real quick before we get into Tennessee transfer portal, I saw Will Shepherd committed to Colorado. I was kind of hoping Tennessee might land him. I think it was kind of a long shot. Any thoughts on that transfer? Offer it.
Yeah. He fits Colorado. He's a good player. I mean, I don't have anything against the type of player he is on the field. Um, but he hurt that team personality wise with certain things. I don't know that he really wanted to be there late in the season, especially most of the season. And that happens to a lot of teams. There's a lot of guys like that. And I'm just speaking honestly, but I think he's a guy that fits there. He's going to have eyes on him. Colorado has a good quarterback. He's going to be the number two there though. So Travis Hunter is the guy over there. I mean, that's Shadur Sanders' guy. So I guess Will Shepard's okay with being the number two guy. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But no, I think it's a good spot for him. I think for Colorado, heck of a pickup for them if you think about it. And so yeah, I think it's a good spot for them. We'll see how much better they are. I know they got a lot of offensive linemen, but no, I think it's a good spot.
I was hoping, I saw Tennessee was slightly not really rumored, and I'm like, we'll take more receiver help. But on the Tennessee side of things, it's been a really weird transfer portal start. Half the secondary's gone, probably more than half of the secondary. Which, as somebody who's watched this team religiously, the secondary is awful, and the secondary has been awful for since Eric Berry left, basically. Tennessee has not had a secondary, and it's frustrating to see when you get picked apart by guys that struggle to pick anybody else apart. I know Leary, Kentucky, he couldn't play quarterback for the first half of the season. He gets to Tennessee, and he just starts looking like Heisman Tim Tebow. So to me, cool. I'm glad we needed an overhaul. Um, you've got, let me count, one, two, three, six guys from the secondary. Six DBs are gone. Um, and I know you mentioned Holden States. That's really the only transfer commit, or in fact, it is the only transfer commit that we've landed so far. But I'm full confidence. We're sitting here, and I expect Tennessee to throw money around. You kind of want to see that with higher names. I mean, I feel like Tennessee is one of those programs where we are, we're a top 10 program. Uh, Yearly, year in and year out, and no matter how much we struggle, the name and that logo still carries a lot of weight with it. So you kind of expect them to kind of start fighting with the big boys over some of these bigger transfers. But a lot of the big guys haven't committed yet. So that's kind of where my outlook is on it. There's a lot of big names still out there. No, I don't see us getting a quarterback. It's Nico's time. I could see them bringing in a backup, but I doubt it. The DBs, like that's the main point, and I know they're talking with an Oregon State defensive back. Uh, I know they might be in the mix for some FCS guys, which is cool. I like the FCS guys. just as much as anybody. As long as you get experience, and I want somebody who could cover, a 5 yard out route. That's it. I haven't seen that in a long time. So that would be great. Tyler Barron's into the transfer portal, the defensive end. He did that last year though, so Tennessee fans are not too shocked about that. He did it last year. He withdrew his name and came back. Now he's gone again, so it kind of feels like he's been wanting out for a couple years now. Um, and Jalen Wright declared for the draft. 1,000 yard rusher at Tennessee. He got it against. I think that's why he was in Billy at Vanderbilt. They kept him in. I think Josh was trying to get him 1,000 yards because I'm assuming the writing on the wall was he wasn't coming back. So to get him to that record and get him to 1,000 yards, that's incredible. So yeah, it's a slow process over here in the orange and white land. So I'm hoping we pick it up. But Billy, I don't know if you had any thoughts on, half of the DBs jumping in the portal before Iowa, which I know Iowa we talk about their offense is terrible. But I'm nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm nervous about New Year's Day.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I think what was it, six DBs, right?
Yes, 6 DBs.
So that's it's honestly kind of comical to see that many guys leave. I mean, I guess they've got plans to replace all those guys, and I've heard that there's a couple of them that might just be testing the waters and might be coming back. Um, I heard maybe Tamarion McDonald might be coming back. Um, I could be wrong on that, but I know there's either one or two of those guys that are kind of gauging the waters a little bit, see what their market is, and then and then kind of hop back to Tennessee maybe. So you could see that, but yeah, I mean it's never a good look when you see that. And but the good thing is you're playing an Iowa passing offense that is absolutely atrocious. So you're probably not worried about much there. Um, Probably creates for even more of a grosser game. In Tampa, right? No, Orlando.
Yeah,
So
Orlando.
down there in Orlando. So yeah, for Tennessee, it's interesting. They haven't been as aggressive as I thought they would be. I don't know if they've had some swing and misses, but Holden Stays is a great pickup for them. He was at Notre Dame. I know his stats don't pop off the page, but I think he likes the idea of being in a Josh Heupel offense. So that'll be fun to watch. I think that was the guy Vanderbilt was after Clark Lee and his connection with Notre Dame. I think that he visited out there, and I guess Stays came to Knoxville and ended up going to Tennessee. So they got to get. I think that Tennessee needs to be more aggressive though. Do they get Walter Nolan? Do they get I mean, obviously they need some secondary players, man. So I think Tennessee and Vandy are in similar spots right now. Their fans are kind of sitting around going, "All right, we're waiting." Like where are the players? We need players at certain spots, but um, then again, there's time. There's still time. The window hasn't closed yet, and I think after the bowl, a lot of these bowls start to end. You'll see even more. And then there's 5 days after the national title for players who play in the national title to enter the portal. So you got time, but I do understand why some fans might be worried right now.
It's they need to. That's is what is confusing me is, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think they're waiting to see if a big fish jumps in that maybe they have intel on that they could kind of offer him the right deal. I don't know about Walter Nolan. I kind of have a feeling that he's going to go to a bigger school, not in terms of money, but in terms of win now mentality. I know he visited with Oregon. He had a visit with Alabama. He's got one with Ole Miss coming soon. Tyler Barron has a visit with Ole Miss. Um, so I would love to add that depth on the D line. I just don't see it happening. Uh, but yeah, like you said, I thought they'd be more aggressive. I'm kind of disappointed in that aspect of things. I'm hoping as the bowl season, drags on, that we start kind of throwing our hat in a little bit more. Because right now this team is a 9-win team for next year. And call me crazy because I know I've seen the schedule. But right now we're a 9-win team, and I mean, we could literally in a couple weeks we could be a 10-win, 11-win team if possible. Um, but the concern is that Tennessee might not have a lot of NIL money left, which it would be alarming. So we'll see how true that is moving forward. But Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, I miss him in orange and white. I think he would be great over here, bringing up transfers. So I think Josh needs to adopt that mentality and say, hey, look, we're Tennessee. We're a top 10 program. Come play with us. Go play in the NFL. But that's about it. Billy, you have anything else on the transfer portal? Anything stick out to you around the conference?
Uh, Honestly, man, there's so much going on that like you said earlier, it is hard to keep up. I thought it was interesting. Will Rogers landed at Washington. Um, Thought that was an interesting get. I would assume he's their guy going in there. Um, with Penix entering the draft, I would guess. Um, let's see here, and then Georgia's had a lot of guys enter, but they're not. I saw Dumas Johnson. They're one of their really good linebackers entered, but nobody that's of note. Other than that, man, Bama's fine. Kentucky has had a couple of good pickups. They got Vandergrift from Georgia, and then they got a good running back as well. I'm forgetting his name, but they got a good receiver too. Missouri's loading up. They got the running back from Georgia State, who's good. I saw Arkansas got Danico Slaughter from Tennessee, and Rocket Sanders left Arkansas to go to South Carolina. So man, there's so much going on. We talked about McGowan going to South Carolina. There's so many in-conference transfers, and a lot of familiar faces. I think, if you're in the SEC, why would you want to leave the SEC? So you might as well go to a staff that is familiar with you, has either played against you, or they really like you. So it's interesting. You're seeing more and more in-conference transfers, especially in the SEC because it is the best conference, and most guys don't want to leave it. So it'll be interesting, man. Obviously, there's a lot going on. There'll be more guys to enter. Probably missed off a few names there, but it's impossible not to with the amount of players entering every day. It's wild.
Yeah, there are, and really with the new conference expansion, there's only two conferences. And so you're really stuck between, do you want to stay in the SEC where you're familiar, or do you want to go to the Big Ten where maybe you're less familiar, and they're probably also less familiar with your work, so they're not going to offer you, to the best of your ability. So I think that's why you see a lot of guys staying in conference as well. But it's crazy. I want to shout out somebody. I follow him on Twitter, Pete Nakos from On3. I have notifications turned on, so my phone blows up because anytime someone enters the transfer portal, my phone dings. So that's how I've been keeping up with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot going on, and but it's fun. It's a fun thing. It's a fun time in the world of college football. Speaking of fun times, Billy, we like I said earlier, we haven't been here since before conference title week. So we have playoffs now. We have our four teams, very controversially. But you've got Michigan at 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama at 4. This is an entertaining playoffs to say the least. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, man. I mean, starting with Alabama and Michigan. I mean, my goodness, you couldn't write up a better matchup, in today's day and age of college football. The king of college football, Nick Saban, best coach, in the sport ever, going up against Jim Harbaugh. This is one of the wildest characters to ever coach football. So many storylines, and my favorite storyline with this is Nick Saban just hired a former staffer, or not even a staffer, assistant coach who coached under Michigan in 21 and 22 to basically be a guy on the sideline saying, hey, I mean, I don't know if he's giving them their signs, but he's giving them something. I mean, just what a move, galaxy
That's
brain move by Nick Saban
that's the most
that
Nick Saban move of all time.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So you're going to be. I'm not saying Michigan fans if they lose going to be pointing to that, but I wouldn't blame. I wouldn't put it past them. But yeah, man, physical on physical. That's what I look at. I think this could be potentially low scoring. Both these quarterbacks are not. I don't think they're as dynamic as a lot of people think. Like if you look at their offenses that they lead, you don't think of JJ McCarthy in Michigan in that vaunted offense. You think of their defense, you think of their run game, that you think of their fundamentals, they're well coached. And then for Alabama, you don't think of Milroe putting up all these points and putting up all these air yards. You think of their run game, you think of their defense, you think of them being well coached. So this points to me in low scoring. If anything, look at the under in that one. But can't wait for that one. I do like Alabama. I know we'll probably give our picks eventually, but um, I do probably err on the side of Alabama there. And then Washington, Texas. I really like this one too. Um, Mostly because it's another chance for Washington to prove themselves. You know, I mean, another chance for them to say, yeah, look at us. We are elite. We can hang with the big dogs, and Texas is they're damn sure one of the big dogs. So it'll be fun, man. I think that matchup is just as good as Tech or Alabama, Michigan. So I like both of them, man. At the end of the day, I keep thinking we're going to see Alabama, Texas, though. I mean, I can't get away from that in in my head, but we'll see. We'll see, man. I think they're both juicy matchups.
I think I like the Texas Washington matchup. I think a little bit more than the Alabama Michigan matchup. I think it's gonna be funny. That game's gonna be. It could possibly be a shootout, or it could be an under of all time, the best under ever. Uh, but I like you got Ewers and Penix. Which Penix are we gonna get? What kind of Quinn Ewers are we gonna get? It's the best quarterback matchup is in that game. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are really high on McCarthy. I'm not that high on McCarthy. So for some reason, everyone and their grandmother seems to be high on Milroe. I don't know how you can be high on a quarterback who can't throw farther, or who can't throw inside 10 to 20 yards. Hey, that's just me. Whatever. Who knows? That game is gonna be fun because it's gonna be Alabama in the Rose Bowl, and I'm a big aesthetic guy, and that's gonna be fun seeing Alabama in a California stadium. You know, and that's cool and that's interesting. Michigan and Alabama played a couple years ago. The year that Tua got hurt, Mac Jones was playing. I think it's the Citrus Bowl. It was the Citrus Bowl. I think what year would have that been? 2019 maybe 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019. So these guys are familiar with each other. But like you said, Harbaugh versus Saban. That's the talking point.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's an incredible matchup in the modern coaching scene as it is now. I know a lot of people are talking about Harbaugh leaving after this year. I don't think he is. I think he's going to stay and re-up with Michigan. They're talking about getting a 5-year deal done. So this could be a matchup if Harbaugh says this could be one of Saban's last hurrahs against a great coach. Because I think we all know that um, clock is ticking down on his career. I mean, Billy, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's a possibility, but Nick Saban is the most inevitable thing ever in college football. And I mean, he's going to win another one, isn't he? It's going to happen.
Yep. It's happening. I mean, it could be this year. Um,
Yeah,
you never know, man. I don't know why people counted him out this year.
it's something to see. But we will hold off on playoffs because we will absolutely get into them as we get closer. You'll get our picks. We'll get to pick some big bowl games. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of you know that's kind of the story for today. We talked about a little bit of transfer portal. We will, I'm sure, keep updating that as we go along because Vanderbilt is sure to make some more splashes. Tennessee, please make some more splashes for my sanity and all the sanity of our fans. But yeah, we'll get into basketball soon too, so that's fun. Basketball is kind of ramping up a little bit. We're about to get into conference play. That'll be great. Looking forward to Tennessee Vanderbilt twice this year, which will be cool. But yeah, that's about it. We'll give you our playoff talks as we get closer and our picks. But Billy, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a crazy day, crazy week for both of us. But it's been fun, and we uh we will talk to you guys probably next week. So
Let's
Billy,
do it.
thank you for joining us.
No
We'll talk to
worries,
you
man.
guys next week. See you guys.